So I'm Audrey Maran. I'm the acting co-lead of the Hollings undergraduate scholarship program. And Erianna Hammond is here today too, the Hollings program specialist. Did you want to introduce yourself, Erianna, or should I keep going?
Just keep going. But hello.
All right. So today we're going to talk to you about how to become a Hollings mentor for the Hollings Scholarship and the benefits of mentoring a scholar and how to get started. So I'm going to start by talking about why mentor and then talk about more of the logistics. How do you become a mentor? What are the steps? That sort of thing. And then, of course, we'll have questions at the end. I am going to turn off my camera so that it doesn't cover up parts of the slide here. So I will have my camera off, but here presenting. So we're going to start by talking about how mentorship is a win-win for mentors and students. This is for the students, there's a power to a good mentor. For mentors, mentorship is an opportunity for growth. And then, of course, how to get started with the Hollings Scholarship. And I'll mention a couple other programs at NOAA as well. And I hope I can convince you today that mentors are so much more than subject matter experts. They're also the backbone of a student's internship. So we're going to hear from the scholars today, not vocally, but some of their quotes where they've talked about their experience. This scholar is a scholar who entered the NOAA Corps after a mentor recognized her comfort aboard a ship. She was struggling to decide on a path because she had so many different experiences and liked them all. And the mentor helped her see skills that were really important and that were unique to her and that could help her sort of choose a path. Here's a Hollings scholar that a mentor mentioned, or that mentioned that their mentor really trusted them enough to let them grow. And that allowed them to gain much more confidence in their research skills. So good mentorship, giving scholars room to grow while providing the right amount of guidance and leadership is really powerful for students. This scholar had their first research experience through the program, and she appreciated the guidance her mentors offered her at all levels, both professional skill and career development and research. She really felt like they were able to see what she needed and help her grow as a professional and learn those research skills that she didn't previously have. This is a Hollings scholar who got specific direction on how to be a quantitative fisheries biologist at NOAA. So it's more than just subject matter expertise, it's also experts in getting a career in that field. So this person knew that they were interested in quantitative fisheries biology, but having that hands-on guidance from someone who's been there, who knows what it takes to get that career is pivotal for people. Mentors show scholars that the passion of scientists at NOAA show them their passion, and that gives the scholars hope for the future. So a lot of scholars share this sentiment that they come in and they have fears about the future of the environment and all of the things they worry about with the environment. And then when they come here, they see all the work that is being done and the passion that their mentors have, and it gives them hope and really helps drive them forward into their careers and future education. So, mentors also have a lot of benefits from mentoring. They grow as people and professionals, they form new collaborations, and may even tackle more projects. And while we heard from the scholars before, now you'll hear from some of our past mentors. So mentees reignite passion for a mentor's work, just like the mentor can give the scholar hope for the future and see how their career can have a real impact in the world. This mentor's favorite part about mentoring was rediscovering their own passion. And when they have a mentee who is passionate and excited, they gain more hope as well, and their optimism is contagious. Mentees bring fresh perspectives that can lead to solutions. This mentor spoke about how mentees can see problems or solutions where she had previously been floundering and find a new way to approach a problem, in this case, communicating NOAA science. Mentees also give you the opportunity to move projects forward. For some mentors have talked about how for every hour you spend mentoring a student, they go out and do hours more work with your guidance. They grow and work gets accomplished. So it's a win-win, really. They're getting work done, but they're also learning a lot about how to do that work and growing as scientists and researchers themselves. Mentorship opens the door for productive and ongoing partnerships. This is one example of publication There have been several scholars that have published. They continue to work after their internship on a particular data set or particular problem, and then work on that publication with their mentor. And that's a huge win for the scholar, but also for the mentors as well to have a partner in that publication. There's also powerful, long-standing collaborations that happen when mentees reach back out to their mentors when they're professionals. Mentorship is also an opportunity to learn supervisory skills where maybe you haven't been able to gain them. Um, this person talked about how not only did mentoring strengthen her emotional intelligence and help her figure out how to adapt her mentoring approach, it was important to her because it was her only supervisory experience before getting into a more formal supervisor role. So it gives you that experience that you might not be able to gain elsewhere. And mentees are ambassadors for our work and NOAA as a whole. This is a quote from a final show of one of the scholars who did an art-based scholar or internship and communicated about sea level rise through art. She had a a art show after her artist in residence internship, and the mentees, both of them, and also many people who attended, were just talking about how lively it was, how there were sparks in the air, and it created a lot more awareness around NOAA's work and and what NOAA does. Mentorship is a chance to build the future workforce. This is kind of an extreme example. This scholar went on to fill her mentor's role when he retired. Um, she continued her work after her internship and they wrote a book together. And a less extreme example than this might be considering that our Hollings scholars are eligible for the 21st Century Core Act direct hiring authority. So once roles begin to open up more, once hiring begins to open up more, they have a direct hiring authority, which is basically a more direct way to hire them. And the best way to thank a mentor is to pay it forward. We didn't start from scratch. We're building on other people. This is why mentorship is important. You pull people up with you as you rise, as your mentors did for you. And I read that whole quote because I just think it really captures what we've heard from several mentors, which is that you want to give back and you want to provide a hand to people when you've previously got one yourself. So with that, I'm going to move on to talking about the Hollings Scholarship. A little bit about it. The award, students get up to $40,000 in support their junior and senior year, and then they have one paid summer internship at NOAA, which is what we're looking for mentors for. And they have a stipend and a housing allowance as part of that internship. They also can present at conferences. They can present their NOAA internship. So they submit to us for approval. And once their internship is over, they can present that research. About the students. So they just finished their junior year before they start the summer internship. They apply as sophomores. And then in their second year, as they're rising seniors, so that's right after their junior year, that's when they do their internship between junior and senior year. They must maintain 3.0 minimum GPAs, and they must have a major aligned with NOAA's mission. A little bit more about them. During their internship, they're regarded as student interns. They aren't federal employees. They aren't contract employees. They're student interns. So they're not considered to be performing work or a job, rendering advisory or personal services, or providing expert advice. And the primary reason that they're here is for the experience and educational benefits from completing a project at NOAA with an expert mentor like you. Their purpose here is to learn and to grow. And it's great that they also provide these wonderful benefits, but their primary reason that they're here is to get the experience and educational benefits. So how do you become a mentor for the Hollings Scholarship? And up in the corner is a QR code to our page for NOAA mentors. It was recently updated, has a lot of information on it that can help you submit an internship opportunity. And as I go through these steps, these things are covered on the mentor webpage as well. So step 1, develop and submit an internship opportunity to our database. Step 2, interview interested scholars. And I'll go through each of these in more detail. This is just the outline. So submit an internship, interview interested scholars, select a scholar. The scholar will coordinate with you to arrange a site visit, which is paid for by the scholar's trip is supported through the scholarship. Step 5, the internship will occur in the summer of 2026. So How do you develop and submit an internship opportunity? First, you'll identify a distinct project that can be completed by the scholar in 9 weeks. It must be directly related to science, management, or policy that's critical to the NOAA mission. So one of the key things here is that it's a distinct project, meaning it has its own objectives, its own hypothesis. It stands alone, even if it is a part of a larger project. And it must be completable in 9 weeks. So it's the job of the mentor and the scholar to work together to come up with a project that they can complete in that time. I know it's not as long as we'd like it to be. We always want these experiences to be longer, but that's the amount of time that they're supported for. So once you've identified a project, you submit it into the student scholarship internship opportunity. This is our internship database that I mentioned. And again, there's more directions on how to do this and links on the mentorship page, as well as a link on the top of the slide. You submit by March 31st, but we actually recommend submitting by October. That's because that's when scholars start looking at the internships and when they start reaching out to mentors. So there might be scholars who haven't identified an internship until later or until early next year, but you're really limiting the pool of people who might reach out to you if you don't have the internship in by October 1. And you can continue, it's an ongoing process. So it's never too late to put one in. The scholarship staff, including myself and Erianna, will review it and approve or disapprove it. If it's disapproved, we'll give you feedback on what to do and encourage you to resubmit. And for best chance of getting a scholar, submit before October 1. More on developing the opportunity. It can be mostly developed when you post it, or it can be a general opportunity that you will work with a student to refine into a distinct project. So we see people submit everything from a specific project that they would like an intern to work on, and maybe have some development, but it's largely already developed. We have a range from that to a posting that might be, we would like a scholar to do a project within these different topics. They can direct and choose based on their interests and skills. So varying degrees. Either way, it should have a lot of substance to it. It should be something that is appropriate for a Hollings scholar, with a hypothesis or objectives and planned outcomes. And keep in mind that these are undergraduate students with varying levels of lab and field experience. So there are scholars in the program, as was revealed in one of the quotes at the beginning, who this is their first research experience. And then there are others who have a decent amount of experience. And in the database, you can indicate what skills you would like the scholar to come in with. There might be some projects that require more skills coming in and some that don't require as many. And it should be reasonable to accomplish within 9 weeks. Step 2 is waiting, and then you interview interested scholars who reach out. So most scholars will select internships between October 6th and March 31st, but really most of them will probably select by the end of the calendar year. Most of them select by December. Scholars will reach out if they're interested. When you submit to the database, you put your contact information and they will contact you. You can interview interested scholars. We suggest waiting until mid-October to start interviewing. This is to avoid a little bit of the stress and rush that comes along with scholars thinking, if I don't reach out immediately, I'll never have a chance. This is to give everybody a little bit of breathing room. So we suggest waiting. You can always acknowledge, thank you for your interest. We'll be conducting interviews during this period of time or however you want to run it. But we suggest giving it a couple weeks after the database opens, which will be a Saturday morning, October 4, to give the scholars time to look before they reach out on, likely they'll probably start reaching out on Monday. For doing the interviews, the primary purpose is for you to see if the scholar is a good match for you and your opportunity based on their skills and interests and whether they're a good fit for your team. So use this interview to determine how their personality fits, how their skills fit, all those different pieces that we want to make sure of before we have someone come onto our team. And we encourage you to mention factors that may impact the scholar's experience. I'm going to give you a few examples, and these come from feedback we've gotten from both mentors and scholars on some of the things that maybe scholars were surprised by or didn't think to ask about. So things like, how often are you in the office versus working remotely or in the field? For example, will the scholar be in the office alone a lot without anybody to talk to? If that's the case, what can they do to prepare for that? If you anticipate having a week or more of leave during their internship, who will mentor them in your absence? So making sure that they know that there's a backup plan if you have to be out. How much time they can expect to spend in the lab or field versus on a computer. I think sometimes we talk about the most fun parts of an internship that were what are the, I guess, most exciting, maybe parts of an internship that a scholar is pursuing and don't emphasize enough how much work will be required in an office. But it is an important lesson, admittedly, that a lot of science and a lot of the other things we do at NOAA are done on a computer. And so that's okay. It's just talking about helping them understand that division of time. Whether there are opportunities for them to network with peers and or colleagues. So will they be mostly isolated unless they go out of their way to network with people, or will it be easy for them to find people to talk to? And the cost of living in the surrounding area. They'll be looking for housing once they choose an internship site, and it's important for them to know if they can afford to live in the area where they're wanting to do an internship. We have a housing subsidy, so it's meant to um, help them afford their housing, but we don't have enough funding to pay for their entire housing at this time. So it's important for them to really have an idea of this. And how difficult is it to access the site? Do they need a car? Will they need additional security checks? Is it only accessible by a ferry if they need to go grab food? How can they prepare for that? Step 3 will be selecting a scholar. So you'll select the scholar and let them know. And of course, please let the other scholars know that you've selected someone if you've interviewed more than one person. The scholar will let the program know that they were selected. So they'll email us with a CC to you and let us know that you've selected them. We will okay and finalize the selection. Typically, there's no issue there. And then we'll get onto a site visit, which I'll explain shortly. There's another way you may become a mentor, which is you don't post an internship, but someone reaches out to you and says, "Hey, I know about your work or I know about your office. I'm really interested. Would you consider mentoring me?" If you're eligible to do so, you can enter an internship into our internship database and then they can fill it. Step 4 is the site visit. So scholars have funding to visit the NOAA facility where they plan to intern and their site visit can be up to 3 days. They'll establish a time for their visit with you. And then they'll let us know and CC you so that we know that yes, timing's okay. And then we'll make the travel arrangements. So you would not want to go ahead and start making arrangements. That's something that our support contractor handles. And please note that many scholars conduct their visit over their winter or spring break. So that's the general timing. What are the mentor's responsibility? We'll have you complete just a brief training in the Commerce Learning Center. If the available training ever changes, we would let you know, but right now that's what's available. Providing guidance day to day during the internship on NOAA's work and operations. Work with the student on a project plan in the first 2 weeks. So this is hammering down those details of what they'll be doing. You'll help them identify the project that they can feasibly complete in the time. You'll review their training report. So this is essentially, it looks similar to a time card, but it's not as strict as that. But they'll put in how many hours they're working each day and what they did in general during that time. And then it'll get sent to you to say, yep, this is fine. And that's all that is. You'll conduct a midterm assessment and to provide constructive feedback. Support the scholars' presentation at the Science and Education Symposium. So the 10th week of their internship, they have these 9 weeks that they're working on their internship. And then there's an additional week, which for most students will be the final week. But quarter system students who start their internships later, it falls sort of in towards the middle of their internship. But they spend an additional week at the Science and Education Symposium. Every student has 9 weeks of internship work that they get to do, and then 1 week at this symposium that they're required to be at, and they give a presentation about their work. So you would support their presentation by helping them develop it and tuning in either online or if you're in the Silver Spring area where the symposium is located in person. And then complete a final evaluation, much like the midterm evaluation. So here's the fine print. The primary mentor must be a federal employee at NOAA. However, Co-mentors who are not federal employees may still be mentors. They can even lead the scholar's project and sort of act as a primary mentor under the endorsement and guidance of a NOAA employee. So basically, the NOAA employee would submit the internship opportunity to the database, and then you would put, and then the employee who's not a NOAA federal employee would be listed as the co-mentor, even if they're acting as the lead mentor. And you may mentor more than one scholar, but each project must stand alone. And please consider carefully how much capacity you have to give meaningful mentorship to more than one student. So I also wanted to spend just a minute reminding you that we have our student opportunity database where there's a lot of other opportunities to mentor students. There's the La Penta internship, there's graduate scholarship programs, there's Knaus Fellows, there's a lot of opportunities to be a mentor. And you can look at the student opportunities database just like a student would, to get a sense of where you might be able to mentor a student. And if you're looking for a less time intensive way to get involved with students, if this all sounds like too much, the NOAA Ambassadors Program is a great way to do that. And mentorship is a win-win for mentors and students. Mentors are more than subject matter experts, and they are the backbone of a student's internship. And with that, we can move on to questions. Thank you.
And we did have one question come in already through the regular audience chat, so I won't be able to display it on screen, but I'll read it out loud for everyone. Should we assume a scholar could use Airbnb to get a place to live?
Yes.
Awesome, easy enough. And then our next question that we had come in. Great presentation. If we want a scholar to travel to, say, a meeting at a different NOAA office, will we need to pay for that, or is that also covered by the program?
Erianna, do you want me to take it or would you like to answer? Either way is fine.
You can go ahead.
Okay. So no, we can't support additional travel to a different NOAA office. Um, they have they have funds to travel to national conferences and present their internship research, but that's as much as we can offer there. But you're allowed to do invitational travel if that's currently allowed in your office.
Awesome. Thank you for your response. Our next question that we have, can you say more about the 3-day visit? Is that something they do before selecting a specific internship?
So sort of yes and no. Ariana, I'm actually going to let you take this one because I think you've done a site visit yourself, right? As a former scholar?
Yeah, so the intent of, can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yes.
The intent of the site visit is basically for a scholar to get a feel of the office and who they're going to be working with. So it's a chance to meet their team or their lab, and everyone that participates in that. Who's going to be mentoring them or co-mentoring them. Usually it's time for the mentors to take them around the area so they can get a feel of potential housing options, how transportation will work or not work, and things that they might need to figure out. Usually a high overview of their project and what the mentor is expecting. And it's kind of a way to just get in touch with the scholar, and make that personal connection before they actually come out for the full internship. So on our end, we encourage the scholars to focus in on housing, transportation, making sure that their project is what they expect it to be, maybe going over um, outlines or deadlines of what they hope to accomplish at certain points of their internship, because sometimes the project can be a little lengthy and they may not have everything that they were thinking. This is also important time to go over badging or security. If there's anything extra that the scholar might need to get into the facility, or if there's any software access or tech issues. So it's kind of a way to outline all of that and then give us time to either hear back from the scholar on maybe some concerns. That way we can assist them in our capacity, or for you and the scholar as a mentor to be able to work out some kinks that may be arising as you discuss more.
Yeah, and the idea is that the site visit comes mostly after selection. So a scholar can go and then say, actually, no, because something very unexpected happened. But for the most part, scholars go on a site visit intending to do that internship, and it's considered they tell us there's been a match before the site visit ever happens. So the site visit is more to help with the figuring out all the things that Ariana went over than it is to make the actual match itself.
Great, thank you for your response. Our next question, is the stipend a flat amount for each scholar no matter the location of the internship?
Currently, yes, but we're doing an analysis.
Good to know, thank you. Our next question, what kind of projects have HQ offices done in the past? We don't have any fieldwork options in our office. Projects would be more policy focused or analyzing project data over time.
Do any jump to mind, Ariana, or do you want me to say some that I've been
You
thinking?
can go ahead, and then I'm going to pull up a list of some.
Okay, so there's been a lot of scholars who do things like analyze large bodies of data. Or I know there's one with some of the sanctuaries, the National Marine Sanctuaries have done, I forget what they call it, community assessments or something like that, which is a more sociology based one. Scholars that do more engineering, there's one who designed a, a piece for a boat. I can't remember what, but it had a specific purpose. There's scholars who have made story maps for use in educational museums that were based on lots of data. So there's a lot of students who do things like a literature search or analyze a large body of data and draw conclusions based on that. There's a student in a lab who looked at different methods to date dolphins. So she looked at their teeth versus their flippers. Um, any others popping in your head, Ariana?
So we have under NIMS, habitat conservation, and it was what do we know about deep sea, um, chemosynthetic communities in U.S. waters, virtual reality opportunity out of Miami with OAR, STEM education communications. So working with NOAA Sea Grant and creating education and outreach tools. Weather service. Let's see. What else?
I think that's a pretty good variety. It's a lot of,
Yeah,
there's just so many different things that I've also creating like a new data in the classroom module. I know I saw one come through for that. So there's a lot of these different, there's just so many different possibilities.
yeah. I think the goal, if there's no access to doing field work per se, I think from what I've encountered with mentors, pretty much they would be working with a data set and developing their analysis from that. And then if there's any opportunity to do field work, maybe with another lab or a partner or something like that, then they might just get the scholar out for something like that. But um, at least for um, most projects, it would be more so just all in office.
Awesome, thank you so much. Our next question, you've already answered the first two of these, talking about the site visits and them potentially deciding not to take the internship. If they decide not to take the internship, do you then offer it to another?
Yes.
Thank you. And then our next question, can a scholar participate on a NOAA funded project if the program funding officer is the primary sponsor with a funded project mentor?
Maybe. So if I understand this right, so the mentor has to be located at a NOAA facility. So it can't be like someone who has NOAA funding and is at a university doing research. It has to be like at a NOAA facility, but it can be a partner. So, for example, there was someone working at the Maryland DNR who worked with the the NER out there, the National Estuarine Research Reserve, and she was a mentor with the, and then there was a federal primary mentor, but she was the lead. So there, hopefully that helps.
Great, thank you. And then I'm going to hop over to a question that came in the audience chat. Does a Hollings scholar project need to have a testable research-like hypothesis? Or for example, can their project instead be focused on developing education materials on a specific topic?
Yeah, so they can develop educational materials on a specific topic. We've seen people do this before. That would be sort of their primary objective is creating a specific sort of series of materials or a specific campaign. It's great if there's a way for them to learn how to do some analysis of the success of that material. I know there's not always time, but if, for example, they're doing something that has a social media campaign component, can they learn how to do some analysis of how successful that campaign was? Um, it's nice if they have that sort of ability to figure out what they've done and I guess put some quantitative or qualitative data to it. But yeah, they can develop educational materials on a specific topic. Ariana, do you have anything to add, or does that cover it?
Yep, that was it.
All right, thank you. Our next question, I'm interested in submitting 2 internship opportunities. Is there someone who can help me refine both ideas to make them appropriate for submission and to determine that they are different enough?
Sure. I mean, you're welcome to you can go 2 routes. You can either submit them into the internship database and we'll review them and let you know if they're too similar. Or you can send us an email at student scholarship programs at NOAA.gov and let us know if that you'd like us to let you know if they sound different enough. So either of those routes is fine. It'll be the same person looking at it ultimately.
Awesome, thank you. Our next
Oh,
question, oh, go ahead.
I wanted to add one more thing. So one thing that might help is that there are scholars who do different parts of a larger question. So there might be a student who's studying or a project on how temperature impacts a certain type of larval fish. And maybe one of them is doing a mesocosm-based experiment and another one is doing a literature search. So they're kind of coming at a question from different directions and they each have their own piece of a unique their own unique piece of a larger project. So that's a good way to think of it as well. Sorry about that.
Our next question, can scholars choose to work remotely if that is their preference and if the project would allow for it?
So we highly encourage the scholars to be in person for at least part of their internship. There's no hard rule against being remote, but there has to be a justification for it. Um, so I guess that's the best way to put it. Do you have anything to add, Ariana?
I think you kind of covered it. I think if there's a way for them to be in person, that would be best.
Good to know. Thank you. Our next question in the queue, can you talk about any specific requirements or fine print for a science communication or science education focused internship?
Nothing further than the question earlier. Um, really just making sure that they have an objective they're working towards. An internship shouldn't be just a series of tasks, like it should be a cohesive piece. So, for example, if they're in charge of social media, it should be a specific campaign or campaigns and doing sort of analysis of how successful it was, and that sort of thing. But there's not a lot of fine print there.
Is the host office responsible for providing a laptop and IT equipment?
Yes. So they will use they will not come in with, I mean, they might have a personal laptop that they can use in some way, but they won't have NOAA devices.
Okay, thank you. And our next question, are all opportunities available / visible to all students?
Yes. The only scenario, and it would still be visible, but if a scholar goes to someone specific who hasn't listed an internship and says, I really want to do an internship with you, can we create a project together, and works with that mentor who's never put an opportunity in the internship database, that's a scenario where they might develop a project and then we put it in and we immediately fill it with that scholar. That's really the only situation where an opportunity wouldn't be visible to everyone. So it's someone who's gone out on their own to try and find a project.
Is it possible to see a list of projects from previous years to help get ideas of what other scholars have done in the past?
Yes, I have two recommended routes for you to go. One of them, and I'll put two links in the chat here. One of them is there's an FAQ for our scholar on one of our scholar pages that just lists titles. But the other thing you can do is look at the booklet from last year's symposium. Or actually, if you look at the schedule page, which I'll put a link to in the chat, you can see all the titles, and then there's an abstract booklet that you can click on and view a bunch of scholar abstracts that has more details about what they did. So that's a really good way to see what did people do last year. So I'll put those two links in the chats.
Our next question: how long does it typically take for them to get their NOAA ideas and emails so they can come on site?
Do you want to go ahead, Erianna, while I
Yeah,
finish?
I'll jump in. So their emails have already been provided to them. Typically, once they're accepted into the program, we immediately provide their emails, at least by orientation, and we keep up with them throughout the academic year. So they already have their emails for once they're accepted. And then as far as their NOAA IDs, we typically start that process in the fall, and they would get it basically around the site visit, which is around like March or early April. So well in advance. And I think, I can't recall exactly, but I'm pretty sure we mailed them out to the scholars this year, I think.
Some to scholars, some to mentors. And
Okay.
this is another thing we're actually in the process of reviewing, and we're talking to some folks we've talked to some former mentors, we talked to some people at different places, trying to figure out how we can better do a security process and what that should look like.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And then I'm going to jump to a question that came in the audience chat just so I don't overlook it. When do scholars get notified that they are accepted into the program? September or October? Like, are they being notified now or?
So it's actually sort of offset. So they apply, the application period is September through January. Then that year's scholars find out in April and go through an orientation. And then they have a whole year until October when they can select an internship. And then next year they do their summer internships. So that's the timeline. Hopefully that made sense.
Yes.
Understood. Yeah, that's good. Our next question: can we have students use existing PC resources? Do we need to purchase a new system? I assume we maintain custody of the hardware.
Yes. Yep. Whatever is available in your office is fine.
Our next question: our work would be meteorological applications that support operations, not research per se. Is this acceptable?
Yeah, there's been a lot of scholars who have done projects where they either write like a module for an application or they work to improve an
Mhm.
application for forecasting. I've seen a lot of that type of stuff. Anything else, Ariana, to add to that?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, for an example, OMAO last year had an intern that um, was looking at hurricane hunters' flight hours management, and it was basically looking at their database and finding ways to improve their system to basically get faster results when information was needed. So that was his project, and he basically walked us through different things that were a concern for the office, what he was able to address, and what was the outcome of that product or that system once he finished his internship. Um, so it could be different things like that as well. And what I would keep in mind with the internship project is two things. One, symposium, which is at the end of the summer internship where they present. So making sure that by the time unless they're a quarter system student and they start late. But by the time that they come to symposium, they have something that they can present and share to the NOAA community as well as their class. And then also the goal is for them to go from summer internship, completing symposium, and then attend a conference and present. So ultimately, by the time that they apply for a conference, we would hope that there would be something, whether it's a poster or oral presentation, that they can present and share out on behalf of the office or division. So those would be the two things I think in creating a project that I would look to make sure that there's enough substance there for them to be able to successfully share.
Did you say that the interns selected now would not do their internship until summer of 2026?
So the interns who were selected this past May will do their internships summer 2026, and the scholars who are selecting internships starting in October are are those same scholars, and they will do their internships next summer. So hopefully that answers your question.
We did have a question come in through the audience chat. I just completed the CLC module, Cultivating Mentor Relationships. Is this the only CLC module, or is there another one?
That's the only one that we're aware of right now.
Awesome, thank you. Our next question in the queue is, we have some training modules that are online. It would be helpful if the intern reviewed them before coming here. Is that permitted?
Yeah, I don't see why not. Ariana, anything to add there?
Yeah, I would agree. I think that's appropriate.
Perfect, thank you. Our next question, how are mentor responsibilities split between a NOAA mentor and a co-mentor?
That's really up to you. It's so varied. There's sometimes when the co-mentor is actually the lead mentor and the NOAA mentor is more of like what I would call an internship coordinator, someone who is making sure that things are going smoothly for a lot of internships, but isn't actually doing that active mentoring as much. Um, there's a lot of different models, and it just depends on what works for you. If you're at one of the research reserves, I know there's someone who enters a lot of those into our system, and speaking to other people who have mentored at a reserve would be a good person to tell you more about that. Um, yeah, so there's a couple different people who play that role at different locations.
So to add on to that, just to give an example, when I completed my internship with Stellwagen Bank, I was under David Wiley as my NOAA mentor, but I was partnered with Juke Robbins, who does research on humpback whales. So I was actually with her on site the entire internship, but David Wiley was, as Audrey was stating, my internship coordinator to make sure things were going well. And then I did like maybe one field work activity with him that summer. But for the most part, it was a partnership that they had already going on. And he just put in the internship on behalf of that organization, and it worked out perfectly. So it just depends. I know in this climate too, a lot of people are trying to balance out the roles and responsibilities. So whatever works best for you, um, even if you need another co-mentor or just whatever works best.
So we have interns here, one that works in my office, and we would hope to employ her as a co-mentor. Note, she will have graduated by the time the scholar arrives. Is this okay to have an intern as a co-mentor?
I just muted myself. I think that if they're an actual intern, I think it'd be okay to have them work with them to a degree, but have some formal mentorship from a NOAA employee or partner as well. So I've seen where PhD students who are working on projects with NOAA partners will also work with the scholar. I've seen things like that happen. Um, hopefully that makes sense. Ariana, do you have anything else to add to that?
No, I think that was pretty much it.
Okay. Well, thank you both, Audrey and Arianna, for joining us today and telling us about how we can become a Hollings Scholar mentor. This was really great. Do you have any last comments before we end today's presentation?
Just thank you, and we hope to see your opportunities come through.
Awesome. Audience, I hope to see you at our next library seminar in the future. Thank you all for attending and enjoy the rest of your day.
All right, great. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.